Factoring quadratics. Quadratics can be written in two forms, either standard form, which can be seen on the left, where the terms are written in descending order according to the power, and factored form, where they're broken down into linear factors and written in parentheses. Do you remember FOIL? FOIL is used to go from factored form to standard form. And the way you use it is you multiply the first terms together, the outside terms, the inside terms, the last terms, and then you combine any like terms. So here we have the first terms. 2x times 3x gives us 6x squared. The outside terms, 2x times 4 gives us 8x. Inside terms, negative 7 times 3 gives us negative 21x. And the last terms, negative 7 times 4 gives us negative 28. Finally, we combine any like terms that we have. 8x minus 21x gives us negative 13x. Factoring is the process of breaking down factored form into standard form. So what we're going to do in order to break it down into standard form is we are going to do the same process but backwards. So we know that in the factored form it's going to be x minus some number times x minus another number. The reason why I chose two negative signs is because we have a positive 12. So two numbers are going to have to give us a positive number, but then add together to give us negative 7. So that means we're going to need two negative numbers. So what we do is we break down the 12 into factors. Negative 1 times negative 12, negative 2 times negative 6, negative 3 times negative 4. And the combination, when we add them together, that's going to give us negative 7, is negative 3 times negative 4. So then we write our final answer as x minus 3 times x minus 4. Sometimes we're going to have to deal with factoring out a greatest common factor first. So a common factor is a term that is the greatest common factor of all the terms in the expression. For example, if we start off with 2x cubed plus 10x squared minus 28x, the common factor here is 2x, because 2x goes into all of the terms. So then what we do with this is we factor the 2x out. So we bring it to the outside of the parentheses, and we leave the remaining factors, so x squared plus 5x minus 14, the inside of the parentheses. And then we handle the inside of the parentheses just like we did previously. We break down the 14. I know one of my terms has to be negative because the 14 is negative. And the smaller number is going to have to be negative because 5 is positive. So the combination, when I add them together, it's going to give me what I need. It's negative 2 and 7. So our final answer is 2x, parentheses, x minus 2 times x plus 7. It gets a little bit more complicated whenever the a value is greater than 1. For example, 4x squared minus 17x minus 15. We can't use the method that we did before because the 4 is going to change all of the factors. So to make this a little bit easier, we're going to use this method called the bottoms up method. So the first thing you do is you take this 4 and you multiply it by the last term, so by negative 15. So then we get x squared minus 17x minus 60. The 4 makes the problem a little bit more complicated from the very beginning, so we're just going to move it for the meantime. X squared minus 17x minus 60, we're just going to do that like we've done in the previous two problems. Break down the 60. The bigger number needs to be negative because we have a negative 17. Find the combination that makes this work. 3 minus 20 gives us negative 17. The way this is a little bit different than the way we've been doing it before is we need to remember that that 4 needs to come back, and it needs to come back in terms of the denominator of a fraction. So the next thing we do is we take a look at our two terms and if we can simplify either of the two. We have to leave the x plus 3 over 4 because we can't simplify that, but we can deal with the negative 20 over 4, that equals negative 5. And the reason why this is called bottoms up is we're going to take this 4 from the bottom and move it up next to the x. So our final answer is 4x plus 3, parentheses x minus 5. So again, what we did is we moved the 4 temporarily to the back term, and then once we figured out the factors, we divided by that 4 that we moved to begin with, and then we simplified and moved the bottom 4 up to the first factor.